Welcome back, guys. We decided to stick with this big old gentleman. He's on our northern boundary, so we thought while he's here, we'll just stay with him. And he's now decided to walk up the road. Oh, it looks like he might take that elephant path to the right. He was just making his way there. But he is massive. Go look for the ladies. Oh, more dust bathing. Oh, he's such a magnificent animal. I mean, I just don't know if I can tell you how huge he is. I think what we'll do is if he moves further off across our boundary. Now you see where that tree is. You can, oh, there we go. You can see having a scratch. He's using his trunk. Okay, now you can see where the fork of that tree is. So when he moves off, I'm actually going to go stand next to that tree. That can just, because I don't think I can tell you in words how massive this elephant bull is. And I'm guessing just at his shoulder, he must be close on 4 meters, well over 3 meters. He's a very, very big Kruger bull. And this area does have some big elephants, but he is a very big bull, this guy. That was an invitation. So you can see he's quite busy with his trunk at the moment. That's probably because he's in must, quite distracted. He'll be on the trail of a breeding herd, looking for a female in estrus. So I'm going to turn the vehicle so we can get a last look at his big behind as it disappears to the north of us. That was a absolutely incredible and special encounter. Probably my favorite elephant encounter of the wild. Okay, he's far enough away now, so I'm just gonna hop out of the car for a second. Not even near where like 191 centimeters. So that gives you an idea how incredibly massive. Even with my arm raised up, I wasn't even close. Oh, what a fantastic thing. I'm just going to go through a little dip here, so there might be a little bit of signal breakup, so I won't be speaking, but we'll be through it very quickly. I'm back through. So if you do want to send questions, you can do it by emailing us, and you can do that to questions@WildEarthTV, or you can just use the hashtag #SafariLive if you're on Twitter. So just in case some of you might have joined us late, we've had quite an epic afternoon so far. First, we started off with a nice breeding herd. At the dam, and the lions are probably 100 meters from Bubbles Up Dam. We went down there and we found that maybe some of them. I'm just going to check down at the water's edge first to see if there's any drinking, and then of that young hippo. Just the young male. welcome to Sunset Safari. Pamela would like to know, are elephants measured like horses to the shoulder or to the top of the head? As far as I know, in most of the books I've read, elephants are measured to the shoulder. So and when they talk about an elephant's shoulder height, is the height and the size of the elephant. So there's just that young male lion who's still sleepy. So we're going to head back to the carcass. There are 2 or 3 feeding, and I did hear some growling as we were leaving the dam. So let's go have a look at the ones that are still on the carcass. James from Kansas City. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, last station, go again. Afternoon, Andrew, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Very, very good. We are with the Nkuhumas. There was also a breeding or family of Ndov at Dovzok Dam earlier, and Brian Makulu must my daughter, and he's now crossed north into Buffelshoek, so my daughter Ndov. Scott had visual of Mvula around Vuyatela. I think he's lost them in the thickets around Gallagher shortcut in those shkovas, and he's busy trying to relocate at the moment.
Are you not with Nkuhuma at the moment, or are you with them?
I am with them still.
Okay, so with them.
Just yet.
Thanks so much, friend. Thanks so much.
So, still feeding. Still getting stuck in there. Standing by, Bernie.
I don't know if you've got any problems with Scott, but if you can let him know that if he does relocate Mvula or whatever, give us an update. I'd appreciate it. I can't get hold of Scott, so we're in the general area and we'd like to respond if he has any success. Thank you.
Copy, no problem, Benny, will do. He's probably off the vehicle tracking at the moment, but as soon as he's back on, I will let him know.
Thanks very much. We're going to go past the meeting tire first, and then we talk to him in that general direction. Thank you.
So we have to learn a new radio system at the moment. We've changed digital radios, and I'm afraid I haven't quite mastered them yet. And they beep a lot, but they are a lot more stable, so communication is a lot better between us and all the other safari guides around.
He was certainly kind of north and west when I last saw him. Scott.
So you can see that I don't think there's going to be much of this carcass left by the morning. There's even a possibility they might move before the morning I don't think hopefully they don't move too far. They might move down towards the dam. I'm still hoping that sometime this afternoon they go for a drink. So using those claws to really get in there and anchor the carcass while they rip the meat off. And we'll keep watching them for now, but what I will show you just now is what a lion's skull looks like, and you can have a look at the dentition and why the shape of the lion skull is the way it is. Hi Laura, welcome on the Sunset Safari. Laura would like to know, do the lions ever eat enough to make themselves sick? Yes, I've actually seen it a couple of times, especially with young male lions. They sort of literally glut and then have to throw up, but don't worry, they don't waste. So once they've thrown up, like your dog at home, they will generally eat what they've thrown up. But I have seen it happen a couple of times. And normally that's not at this stage. So I'm sure you guys can hear the actual bone crunching that's going on there. I'm just going to keep quiet for a few seconds so you can hear, and I'll try explain the different noises, see if there's what the different lions are doing and which noises are being caused by which teeth. Okay, so while we've been listening to that crunching, there's different, it's amazing. If you listen very carefully, you can hear different types of teeth working very differently. Lion with the skulls next to it. Oh, that's a big stump. So, this is going to be... see, and with my monitor I can show you what's going on in her head. Okay. Okay. So we'll start on the book a bit easier. So there we have a lion's skull, a nice diagram of one. Oopsie. And we're talking about the teeth. So the front set of teeth, these ones here, there, are the incisors. Here we have very obviously the big canines, and that is called a cheek tooth, and that is a premolar, and there's a molars at the back. Lions' molars have very little grinding capabilities. I see she's flopped her head down, or Murphy's Law, but we'll carry on for now. So when you see that lion turning its head to the side, it's using these teeth here, and these teeth are very good at cutting. And so they will cut through the skin and stuff like that, and then they will use the incisors and the canines to rip. They will also use these, the premolars and molars, to cut pieces of meat off as well. So there's very little chewing. A lion sort of gulps a lot of the meat down. They will use the molars, which are quite sharp as well, to break up smaller bones. But now we get really interesting. If you look at this cranial crest here, and it's very, very important for the lion. It's where the muscles that are able to create that power come from. So this crest is where, oh, I've gone absolutely blank 1 second here though. Oh, I forgot the name of the muscles there. The masseter muscles, and the and the masseter muscles. Can't believe I've gone blank on that. And the temporalis muscles. So those are attached onto this crest, and this extends quite a lot higher than it would in other animals. And they actually attach down to here, and they're the ones that give that biting power. So obviously the lower jaw moves, it's on a hinge, whereas the upper jaw is completely stationary. So the big muscles attached to that there. And also, if you look at the lower picture here, see how wide, relatively speaking, the lion's skull is, and that's also where a lot more muscles, and you can see how thick and big everything has to be able to keep all that, to hold all those tendons and stuff that control those muscles. But it's quite interesting that they're very, very unique, or not unique when it comes to the cats, but I mean, if you had to compare a leopard skull to a lion skull, lions have a much smaller brain cavity than leopard, and it looks like, and even from their behavior, they're far more sort of brazen, and they lie a lot more on their brawn, whereas a leopard actually has to probably think a little bit more than a lion. So a lion's far more instinctive. But it's very interesting if you start looking at detail in the skulls and skull structure of the different animals, that it gives away quite a lot about them. And then lastly, there's a very distinct gap you can see between the teeth here, where the little cheek tooth sticks out, and that is a very important thing, and you'll find that in lion and leopard and even domestic cats to a degree. And what happens is, when a lion or a leopard grabs onto a prey species' neck, this little gap is actually what suffocates them. So they don't actually like rip the throat out. The canines will anchor, and this will literally sort of, if you can imagine, just close the esophagus like that and suffocate the animal. Well, lecture time over. Let's look at some lions now. Alright guys, we're going to definitely sit tight here. It is the right time of the day where possibly hyenas might start moving, but smell has been permeating for a couple of days now, so we're going to stand by. Oh, just before we cross over to Scott, it's not a very good shot, but there's a vulture has arrived, a hooded vulture. I'm going to have a quick look at it. It's not a good look, but he's through a tree. We're going to hang on with this vulture a little bit. I don't know if we've had across a few questions about vultures. So he's in the tree there. I'm going to move quickly so we can have a better look at him. You can see Brian's found him there, but it's obviously quite difficult through all those leaves. I'll try. Now we've got to dodge the lion, because the lions some of them have moved. I'm going to reverse out and see if we can get a nice view of that vulture. There we go. Okay, here we go. It's a hooded vulture. So the smallest of the vulture species. Quite often the most bullied around kill sites. and they will generally feed on really, really small little scraps that are left over from the bigger vulture species. But this is the first hooded vulture I've seen since I've been at Safari Live. They tend to be a little bit more common further to the south. Sorry guys, I'll be back with you in a second. I just need to take that radio. Station confirm, you're looking for the station with the Nkuhuma Pride. Oh, sorry, I'm not quite sure what's going on there. But, okay, so it's a hooded vulture. As I said, the smallest of the vulture species. They generally like to nest in big jackalberries and weeping boerbeans or scotias along the edge of drainage lines. Quite often one of the first to arrive at the kill, but you can hopefully turns his head a little bit now. But a very, very thin beak for a vulture. I'm hoping he'll show it to us shortly. Here we go. Lovely. So he's very, very small, thin beak. So they're sort of the cleanup crew at the end of a carcass, because they're not able to open carcasses. So your lappet-faced and white-backed vultures are the bigger vulture species that are able to open carcasses if they find them. So a hooded vulture, if he finds a carcass first, generally eats the eyes, a little bit around the gums, around the anus, but is unable to open up the carcass completely. Normally they'll come in after all the other vulture species have left. They'll be around, but they'll actually start feeding once the other vulture species have left. I mean, it's actually a perfect example in the book here to show you the difference in beak structures between a hooded vulture and the largest vulture we get in this area. So the lappet-faced vulture. Number 2 you can see is the hooded vulture. Very, very fine beak structure, very small, very slightly built. Biggest gets to about 75 centimeters, and then we have the lappet-faced vulture, which is massive. Gets to over 115 centimeters. Huge, powerful build that's able to rip apart carcasses, and they're sort of the kings of the carcasses, and the hoodeds are sort of the scavengers that sort of dance around the edges trying to stay out of the way. There we go. Alright guys, we're gonna cross across to Scotty quickly. We're not going to go anywhere. We're going to stay with the lions. Hopefully something might happen. Maybe hyenas arrive in. But we're not going anywhere. We're just going to go catch up with Scott and see what he's been up to.
Welcome back. And enjoy the beautiful, beautiful vista that we stopped to enjoy en route to the hyena den sites. This view is just too good not to share with all of you. And we are in a magical, untouched piece of Africa here in the low velds of the Sabi Sands. And aren't we all lucky to be exploring this magnificent chunk of wilderness this afternoon? As I said, we are just a few minutes away from the hyena den site. It's literally around the corner, so don't go anywhere. And let's see if we're going to have any luck. At this time of the afternoon, the adults may have already headed off in search of food. And often when the adults do leave, the young cubs will disappear back down the burrow. Having said that though, the cubs are getting a little bit older and more courageous. They're about 6 to 7 months old now roughly. There's 2 different litters. And they like I say, not as nervous as they used to be and getting a little bit more bold. So even without the adults there is a chance that we could see them, but we would probably leave the den in a situation like that. The reason being is that if another predator was to stumble across the cubs when there were no adults around and we were there making a bit of a noise, we could have some kind of an impact on the outcome of that event. So we typically only view den sites or young animals only when their parents are around. And soon we will know whether they are. I think we're in luck. There seem to be one or two adults lying about outside the den. Which is good news for all of us. It really is incredible how they don't even batter an eyelid as we arrive, and it really does go to show that with proper management and with proper interaction, humans and animals can coexist, and they are not even remotely bothered. It's as if we're not even here, and that's exactly how we want it to be. We just want to be able to slip in and out of their lives without having any impact, and by them being completely unperturbed by us, we can study their natural behavior and simply enjoy whatever they do show us. At the moment they don't appear to be showing us much though, and that could well change in the next few moments, because it's this stage of the evening when hyena will start to become excited about the prospects of the night that waits them, and they cover huge distances every night in search of food and any possibilities to scavenge prey or even hunt for themselves. You can see this one's got a chunk of its ear missing. It's a great distinguishing feature for this specific hyena. I must admit though, I don't personally remember seeing it, but then again we see so many different animals that it's hard to keep track of all of the different individuals. Some of you, the viewers, may recognize it, so feel free to let me know if you do recognize this hyena, and if it's been involved in any interesting sightings along the way. Ah, there's good news. I can see a cub poking its head out of the burrow. So what I'm going to have to do is probably reposition. Oh no, VM's too good with this camera. Even through the thick foliage, he's managed to pick up this inquisitive little cub that might be wanting to try its luck for one last nursing session before its mother heads out. Great. Gently going to try and sneak into a position that allows us to see the cub more clearly. And as I said, these adult hyenas are so relaxed with our presence. They're not even moving, even though we're moving this rather large vehicle just meters from them. Really lucky. being out here on safari, it's all about being lucky with your timing. And I think this evening, with the hyena den, we have hit the nail on the head, as we've only been here a couple of minutes and now all three cubs have come out to play, hopefully. That's not to mention all the action you've been having over with Brent at Buffelshoek Dam, and not to forget the great sighting we had of Mvula, the dominant male leopard of this territory. It's been an action-packed afternoon. You'll notice the cub that's standing up is bigger than the other two, so it's from a different litter and possibly a month or so older than the two smaller ones. Very difficult to distinguish sexes of them. The male and female hyena look very similar. It's not to say they cannot be distinguished, but I think you would have to consider yourself an expert to be able to confidently guess the different genders. You'll notice how they hold up their tail when they get excited. Either that or hold it tightly between their legs. So, two different poses that they hold. Now, despite what you are seeing on the two smaller cubs between their back legs, those are not necessarily males. Hard to believe that that is the case in the appendages, or similar looking rather, and that is what makes it difficult to differentiate between male and female. With us yesterday, you'll notice that this is not the same den site where we have been viewing this clan over the last couple of weeks, possibly over a month now. They've moved back to the old den where we originally used to view them. So, not an abnormal maneuver on behalf of the clan members. They moved den sites in order to maintain a reasonable level of hygiene. An excrement begins to build up at any given den sites, and therefore they move every couple of months to let Mother Nature do some housekeeping while they're away, and they can return to a relatively clean home. Yeah, it'll be that and a combination of not wanting every predator in the area to know exactly where they are denning their cubs. Also, that factor involved, because predators will kill other predators' cubs, and even adult predators when they are powerful enough to. It's simple competition, and the less predators around, honestly, more prey will be available to any given predator, so they partially complement one another, and cubs are often the easiest ones to kill. Now, are we going to have an inquisitive cub entourage? Come on. They sometimes come over, sniffing at us and looking at us. It really would be wonderful to know what they're thinking. It's also going to be interesting to see this adult's response to this cub that's approaching. Oh, well, that was the response, a big fright. hierarchy plays a very important role in biology, and that's why the cubs approach so delicately and nervously. There's a lot of respect amongst clan members, and that was really interesting. The cub in the background is anal paying around over blades of grass, and even from a very, very young age, they are beginning to and two of them did it then. Interestingly enough, it's the two younger cubs that both did it. Let's see how the older cub responds now, and if he wants to do it as well. He or she. Still not sure who they are in terms of gender, as I was mentioning, and it looks like the old cub is feeling a little bit out, and it too may perform this little act. They're all fighting over the same blade of grass now. Anne from Durban, good evening and welcome on board. I hope all is well in Durban, and for those of you who don't know where Durban is, it's my hometown and it's on the east coast of South Africa. And it's a good question. I'm not sure of a precise answer for you, Anne, but and therefore with their increased amounts of hormones, this possibly causes an enlarged genitalia. You can see this one's got a wound on its leg if you look closely. Oh, she's just hidden it. And basically the female's appendage is an enlarged clitoris that she actually gives birth through, and again, I'm not sure of why that would happen. It's actually a very tricky and difficult birth passage, and cubs that a hyena gives birth to do not make it. So there are some strange factors there that don't really make sense in terms of evolution, but I'd be happy for anyone to share whatever they know about why the genitalia of the male and female could be similar in the hyena and what is the reasoning behind it. Please feel free to send through your thoughts on this matter to questions@WildEarthTV or simply hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. I can hear another vehicle approaching, so it sounds like we've got some visitors, but that's not a problem. So I've just got a question through from Lynn in Michigan. Good evening, Lynn, and welcome on board with us. Lynn would like to understand how big hyena actually are, and again, a lot will depend on the area, individual, how you're viewing them, but an animal that is probably well known worldwide would be a Rottweiler. I'd say it's a very similar size to a Rottweiler. And I'm just trying to think of any possibly better animals that I could compare it to that everyone would know of, and I'm not coming up with anything. This little youngster is getting really inquisitive here, and let's see how close it comes. More anal pasting there, and again really interesting to see that. We just got a question through from Bob in Iowa. Good evening, Bob, and welcome on board. Bob is wondering if I've ever seen a python slither into a hyena den site and catch any of the cubs, and no, I haven't, but I'm almost certain that it would have happened somewhere along the line. I've actually never seen footage of it either, but that's not to say it hasn't happened. I have seen it happen with side-striped jackal before, and also footage of them catching leopard cubs. So African rock pythons will probably be one of the biggest threats to these cubs, because it's one of the apex predators that would be able to slither into the burrows. And considering that a large African rock python could catch and feed on an adult male impala, these little cubs would stand no chance. Well, good evening, Crystal in California, and thanks for sending your question through. Crystal's interested to know whether we get brown hyena here, and there have been one or two sightings of them, but I've certainly never seen one, and it's not common to see them here. So it's just the spotted hyena that we typically see. And Crystal's interested to know how many clans are there in the whole of the Sabi Sands. Now, I don't know the answer to that, and I'm not sure if anybody actually does, but I am going to try and work it out with you now. Basically, the Sabi Sands is 65,000 hectares, of which we are traversing about 2,500. So we are only traversing a pinprick of the Sabi Sands, and there's one confirmed den site on our property, and you could assume that there would be one, I'd say, every 4,000 hectares or 5,000 hectares. So there's probably between 15 and 20 clans of hyena within the Sabi Sands, and that's just a rough guesstimate. What I can tell you though is that the clans are quite small in the Sabi Sands to here, where we often only see 2 or 3 adults at a den site. Well, good evening, Kathy, and welcome to the hyena den site. Kathy is interested to know how many cubs can an adult hyena have, and more often than not what I've seen is it's 1 or 2, but I do believe they can give birth to up to 3 individuals. The competition between the cubs can often be quite ferocious, and they may kill and outcompete their siblings before we ever get to see them. From a very, very young age, when there'll be tiny little fur balls within the burrow, the smallest one may always be out-muscled and not be able to nurse and then die before we even see it. So I think there's a lot of unknown with regard to that, because there may be things going on within the burrow that we are not aware of. So it typically is the 1 or 2 that I've seen that make it to this stage, and seldom 3. Russell in Texas, good evening. Russell's obviously been thinking about the process of a hyena giving birth through their very interesting appendages, and mentions that he would like to know how big a cub would be when it is given birth to, and I would say probably roughly around the size of 2.5 to 3 tennis balls. But then again, I've never seen a hyena freshly born, so that's a complete guess. And I guess the only place where we would be able to find out information like that is from zoos or very intense research projects where they would have been able to somehow monitor a hyena giving birth. But I have never seen or heard of any documents on that matter. But with the predators, and all of them, they are in the same boat. They give birth to altricial young, which are blind and helpless little fur balls, because it's important for the adults to be able to run and maneuver in order to get their food, and therefore it makes more sense to give birth to underdeveloped young. Whereas the herbivores and prey species are often the complete opposite. They can run the risk of being heavily pregnant and still escape prey, and therefore give birth to a larger, more fit and ready to go kind of youngster that will be up and running within minutes of being born, which is critical, because if the prey animals did not do that, they would not stand a chance. Well, it looks like these adult hyena are beginning to do their pre-evening stretches and greetings before they head off in search of action. They'll actually often follow the scent trail of leopards, and once they find a leopard, just keep it in its sights, because they know that there's a strong chance that leopard will catch something, and if they're close enough by, they could try and steal it from them. They live an incredible life, these animals, and I'd really love to be able to follow them through the darkness and see exactly what they get up to. And maybe that'll be one of the future projects that we do. Well, I think it is time to head across to Brent. The adults are beginning to make their way away from the den sites, and the cubs will then head back into their burrows shortly. So why don't we cut across to Brent and see what's going on with him and the Nkuhuma pride of lion that are busy finishing off that hippo kill. We'll see you later.
Welcome back, everyone. As you can see, Brian and I haven't travelled much distance today. We're still sitting with the Nkuhuma pride of lions on that hippo carcass. For those of you who might have joined late or haven't been with us for the last couple of drives, or even possibly are a new viewer, these lions were found yesterday morning with this young hippo carcass. Obviously managed to separate it from its mother in some way and managed to kill it. So they've been feeding on it now for a full day, 2 full days and 1 full night, and it's almost finished. I think by tomorrow morning there'll be very, very little left. So lots of fat, happy cats around here, and we've been following the progress as they're developing. There you go. Most of the nice big fatty deposits under the hippo skin have been eaten. There's not that much meat left. There is a bit of meat left around the head, but not too much. I'm sure during the night they'll open it up. And we've been standing by here, especially in the afternoon, sort of wondering if the hyenas might have smelt it, even though it's been quite cool, so the carcass hasn't rotted yet completely in the last 2 days, so the smell isn't really bad at all. But it's been fascinating to watch, and we'll definitely probably come check on it again in the morning, just to make sure. The lions might have left by tomorrow morning, but it'll be nice to come have a look at the carcass anyway and see what's left if hyenas haven't dragged it off in the night. Astralina, welcome to the Sunset Safari. Astralina would like to know, would hyenas really dare come mess around with this many lions still active on the kill? Most definitely, Astralina, if there's enough hyenas. I think I said last night, I'd guess probably 10 is the magic number. Between 10 and 15 hyenas to push a pride of this size off the kill. Now that they're so full, that number's probably gone down to about 8, because they've all eaten quite a lot, and the risk of fighting with hyenas over the dregs of a carcass will probably mean they might try to defend it for a bit, but they won't be overly defensive of the carcass. So they'll probably need less hyenas to steal what's left now than it would have yesterday when there was more meat on the carcass. You can see that's basically mostly skin, and then at the bottom right of shot there, that is the top of one of the leg bones, so that ball would go into the hip joint. And you can see very little meat. What's moving behind is actually just sort of the last of the skin with a bit of the subcutaneous fat deposit. Oh, there you go, he's moving the head. And you can see the mouth open there. moving it around. He's trying to get into that position to get to that little bit of meat that's left on the neck. So, even though he is only a young male, he's probably had the lion's share out of all the animals here. He's definitely would have fed initially. The first bout of feeding, he would have eaten more and been the most aggressive on the carcass. Especially getting to his age, I'm sure the male lions might have changed their attitude to it, are going to start changing their attitude to him. So he's probably going to try to take advantage of as many free meals as he can before he gets pushed out of his natural territory. So we haven't moved an inch. I mean, it's amazing to be able to sit 3 meters from, at the moment, the four lions very close to us, 2 feeding on the carcass. He's going to pull that head around. He's trying to maneuver the head so he can get to those little bits of meat that are stuck at the back of the neck. That's why he's pulling that carcass like that. You can hear a bit of growling now. So he's trying to get the head, there we go, into a position where he's able to get inside to where there is some meat and some fat deposit left. Now a lion's tongue is like a piece of sandpaper. So imagine him licking you, literally very, very rough. If he licked you in one spot a couple of times, it would probably take the skin off. You can hear the tongue there. He's using his canines and incisors to try and get that meat out. So guys, if there might possibly be anyone who's new to Safari Live, we are sitting live next to a pride of lions feeding on a hippo. You are seeing exactly what I'm seeing in real time wherever you are in the world. We are incredibly lucky to be able to share our love and our passion for the African bushveld with all of you, wherever you may be. And the really amazing thing is we also are interactive, so you can send us questions while we're on drive about what we're seeing. You can do that by emailing us at questions@WildEarthTV, or if you're on Twitter, you can just use the hashtag Safari Live. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can see all 8 members of the pride at the moment. Start. Louise, welcome on the Sunset Safari. Louise would like to know, will the hyenas eat the skin, the tough skin of the hippo? They will try. They will to eat the bits where there's probably a little bit more fat or a bit of meat stuck to it. But generally, not very many animals, unless they're under quite a lot of stress for food, would eat the skin. They'd probably leave it behind. But the hyenas will definitely come in here and finish up all those bones. The bones that are too big for the lions to crush to get the marrow out, the hyenas will make short work of with their powerful jaws. If you guys can hear that, it's incredible. You're listening to a lion eat a hippo in real time. The power in a lion's jaws are incredible. And if you zoom out a little bit, even just look at the muscles that are just bulging on that young male lion. Just latent energy waiting to explode. So we've had such a fantastic evening, guys. I mean, we started off with a lovely breeding herd of elephants, and then we came to the lions and they were feeding, and then we heard that trumpet down at the dam, saw that monstrous elephant bull in must and gave us a dust bath. We came back to the lions. I don't know, with Scott you've had a nice sighting of Mvula, even though it was quite brief. Nice to know he's around. Ended the leopard drought a little bit, so well done Scotty for ending our leopard drought. And then I know Scott's been at the hyena den as well, and from what I've heard, some great interactions there. It's been one of those afternoons, I think, for us here. It's just been incredible. Most amazing thing, you don't need a scripted story when you're in nature. Hi, Genevieve, who's from New York. Genevieve, how very, very observant you are. Brian and I were actually discussing that while we were sitting here, and we actually had a really good look very closely into the carcass for maggots. Genevieve's asking how long it would take for maggots to develop in the carcass. Well, it depends, Genevieve. I'm pretty sure there are maggots under the skin and whatnot. They're just trying to avoid the open light. And also with the lions moving the carcass constantly, it can make it quite difficult for them. But I'm pretty sure there are maggots. Normally, even with a carcass that's this fresh, or a fresh carcass, the maggots will be in there within a matter of hours. But I don't know, it's because maybe with all the subcutaneous fat, we're not noticing them. But I'm pretty sure there will be maggots somewhere on that carcass. I just haven't been able to see any yet. Sorry, last station, go again.
calling myself out for an evening drive from Djuma Research Campus.
Hi, good evening. Update for Vuyatela this afternoon. We are currently sitting with Nkuhuma Pride on young Mvubu carcass just to the northwest of Buffelshoek Dam. Mvula was seen briefly around Gallagher shortcut in those thick shkovers there. And there was a breeding herd at Buffelshoek Dam that was mobile southeast. And that's it for the afternoon so far. Hyena Den was active earlier, but isn't anymore.
Okay, coming in, thanks, friend. How many stations are with those in Gala and Buffelshoek Dam at the moment?
It's just me. You're more than welcome to join.
Yeah, I'll make my way then. I'm a little bit for Sean. I'll let you know when I'm a little bit closer.
Copy, thanks. Sorry about that, guys. Just chatting to one of the other guides, letting them know what's out there. They're obviously getting out late on drive today. It's really important that we communicate well on the radio with everyone else. It's a really important tool for all of us. Okay, I'll let them chit-chat away, and I'll keep chit-chatting with you.
Yeah, this Gala, somebody in Gala on that on the western side.
Hi, Jeffrey from Texas, the Lone Star State. Jeffrey would like to know what enables lions to feed off rotting flesh. Is it their immune system or their digestive system? Jeffrey, I'd probably say it's a combination of both. That they are able to digest rotting flesh, and they've been evolving that skill for a very long time. I mean, the early felids or large felids of Africa would have probably developed that over an extended period of time. I mean, modern day lions have only been sort of in their current form for around 200,000 years, which is about the same as us, more or less. So quite interesting that they would have probably developed that before. A lion's digestive system is I'm trying to think of the right adjective here. A vile, torrid cauldron of smelly, disgusting things. And lots of little parasites as well, flukes and different intestinal worms. But a lot of those things don't really affect the lions too badly. And it's because of their high-protein diet that they do have quite a lot of strange little parasites in their system. What did he spot there? I think I spotted a bat flying over. So that young male's got to the good spot. And now he spotted a bug. Just the movement caught his eye. If we look carefully at what that young male's going to do now, what I think he's going to do, and of course because I thought he was going to do it, he didn't. But we're going to watch carefully as he turns, when he turns his head to the side, to try to use the premolars to cut through that thick skin of the hippo. Or he's going to, I think he might chase. Come on. Get grumpy with everyone. So that little lioness is using those premolars to cut through the skin there. You can see how her head's right at an angle. For those of you watching earlier, we had a little lion dentition lecture, so you can actually even see the cheek tooth. How amazing was that? You saw that little sort of remnant tooth at the top there, but now she's turning around, she's using those premolars to cut through that thick skin. Oh, let's go wide there for a sec, Brian. He wants the gill in a different place. And you can actually see now the whole, might get a bit stroppy. So even though they're all full and they've all eaten a lot, lions can sometimes break out into quite large fights over the remnants of a carcass. Normally that happens in the beginning when they're all still very hungry, but lions seem to forget all their manners when it comes to the table. And see how she's panting really, really heavily. Really full belly. Oh, it looks like that young male might is thinking about stealing someone else's spots. No. You see that lioness at the back making the most out of the ribs. Getting little pieces of meat in between out. Okay, we're just gonna stand by 1 second there, Brian. Sorry, I thought there might be a little bit of an argument. See what he's up to, and we'll be back with you a little bit later, hopefully.
Welcome back, everyone, and we are on a bit of a wild goose chase at the moment. It's an exciting chase that we're on, and some of you may have heard that Karula, a female leopard, has been seen mating with Tingana, a male leopard who's dominant to the west of Djuma, on the property called Arathusa, which we can also traverse. We haven't been coming here recently, simply because the radio comms have been down, the radio systems have changed, and we are therefore battling to communicate with the guides. So I just got a report from one of the Arathusa guys that I bumped into at the hyena den site, and he said to me that there's this action here, and I'm in the general area now, but just can't seem to find where they are. As you can see, it's very thick, it's dark, but I thought I heard them mating just a few moments ago, and I'm trying to get into that area. It really is interesting because it was just yesterday that I got a report from another Arathusa guy that he had seen Karula with suckle marks, meaning she's given birth to cubs that have been suckling, and I don't think he would have been wrong. He's an experienced guide, but for her to be mating now is quite bizarre, because unless she's already lost her cubs very recently, that could possibly explain it, and that is a reality. She may have given birth and lost those cubs within days. So who knows? The other interesting thing about this sighting is that Shadow, Karula's daughter, and Shadow's cub are in attendance watching what's going on. So I'm really desperate to get us into the sighting, but it's not easy. It's very thick, and it's not exactly my backyard. I don't know all the sneaky ways around these thicker areas of Arathusa, which is making for tricky going. Anyway, it's very exciting, and what I might do in the next moment or two is just stop and listen for a moment and see if I can hear either the leopards mating or even the game drive vehicles that are probably there with her. Failing this, I believe they started mating sometime this morning, at least that's when they were found, and if she does continue to mate, it could last for 3 to 5 days, and we're certainly going to come back here first thing in the morning to try and relocate on these animals. It will be an incredible sighting to share with you. And I haven't seen leopard mating since I've been back in the Sabi Sands, and I've been here almost 6 months now. I think I just saw a vehicle light flash, which will be useful. Well, we're just going to sit in dead silence for a moment, because I really do need to listen closely, and there's such a beautiful skyline. I can hear vehicle audio, and we are very, very close by, so I'm hoping that we are going to be able to find the nearest road shortly and head in that direction. The problem is I have got myself a little bit lost, and when the bush is so thick, even though I know which direction I need to head in, to follow the path of I fear that I may need a little bit more time than that, but don't go anywhere, we could get lucky. Enjoyed this afternoon's drive. It's been action-packed. Brent's had some awesome sightings with you, it sounds like, of the lion and the elephant, especially a big bull and musk that sounded like he was giving you a little bit of a hard time. Always exciting stuff when that happens. And then Nkuhuma, the male leopard, an absolute beautiful specimen. And he's not going to be happy about this. Karula, a female leopard that he has mated with and had litters with, is now mating with his rival to the west. We should be getting close to a road, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Okay, folks, we're going to cut back to bed so that he can say goodbye and I can concentrate on trying to find where we need to actually be, and we'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Hi guys, Scott's got some really exciting news, and he's trying really hard to find you something, so we're going to say a quick goodbye, and maybe tomorrow I'll tell you more of the bunny story. Good night, everyone. Have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are.
come back, and I think I'm just going to stop and listen again and see if we can work out where these leopard are hiding. Well, not sounding very promising yet. It really would be interesting to know where we are, because we've just been off-roading for quite some time now, and I'm not sure where the nearest road is. We are in a beautiful, beautiful area though, and it is an absolutely stunning evening, not a breath of wind. And what an afternoon it's been, and I hope we keep up the tempo for tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon's drive. Every drive we try and make as exciting as possible. Sometimes the animals hide from us, just like they're doing this evening, and other times we get lucky. Today has been lucky though, and big thanks to VM and Tara and Nikki and Final Control, and well done to Brent, and thanks for you, the viewers, for following us. We'll see you all tomorrow.